today's session on this same Power BI series that happen every Sunday. Today we are going to, this is going to be the first session of Microsoft Fabric. I think I did something on Power BI Git, but it wasn't entirely like a Microsoft Fabric thing. It was mostly a Power BI thing. So today we are fortunate to have Obinna with us today to take us through how you as a Power BI developer can begin to dive into the world of Microsoft Fabric. So I'm going to try to get out of his way because it's interesting session. It's something, it's one of those sessions where we are exposing ourselves to things that are new. So this session is brought to you by Your Bizage and MHS Analytics. We are actually same company. Your Bizage is a Nigerian entity that has been since 2014. We provide trainings, consulting services. So if you have any training need on Excel, Power BI, SQL, financial modeling, we are your sure plug. We are the ones we recommend that you come to. And we provide trainings where class, one-on-one, online, web, the one where we have a course platform and you register and you do it at your pace. The MHS Analytics is the Canadian entity, and if for any reason that maybe you're in North America or you're in Europe and it's just easier to pay, this entity than pay the Nigerian entity, or it's not an issue for us. It's just a way of ensuring that we make it easy for people to engage our services wherever they are in the world. And also, we already provide some Canadian client services too, and they require us to register in Canada. So now to the main thing. Our speaker for today is Obinna Iheanacho. I hope I pronounce it correctly. And he's a data professional with extensive experience in building data solutions. He's currently doing something related with AI and ML, and so he's at the cutting edge of it. Maybe he will tell us whatever he's doing with generative AI, because that's the newest tool. But anyway, I won't want him to detract from what he has planned for us. I'm just trying to say he's got an interesting background, and he's someone that knows a lot that you will be glad to have in our midst today. He works as a data analysis coach, and he enjoys painting. And, he's also into teaching, and so his experience with delivering content to people. So, you'll find his session enjoyable. There will be prize awards, so if you stay to the end and you answer the question he's going to ask at the end, you stand a chance of winning a prize. I'm going to share his LinkedIn so that you can connect with him on LinkedIn. And right now, I'll hand over the session to Obinna. So please, Obinna, over to you. I'm going to stop my video, stop sharing my screen, and you can take us away. I hope he has not gone out of the session. Yeah, Obinna, if you are speaking, you're on mute.
Yeah, apologies.
Okay, I guess that's what. Okay, great. So yes.
Let me know when you can see my screen.
Yeah, I see your video now. I've not seen your screen, but
it's coming up.
Okay.
So you should see my screen now.
Yeah, yes, perfect. Thanks.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, hi everyone and welcome to today's section. So we'll be looking at getting started with Microsoft Fabric for Power BI developers. So basically how to leverage the power of Fabric for your data and analytics needs. So for our agenda, we'll go through an overview of Microsoft Fabric. We'll look at benefits for Power BI developers. We'll look at how you can get started with Microsoft Fabric, whether you're new to Power BI or you're an existing Power BI user. And then we'll look at how to work with a couple of different Fabric components as time allows. Then we'll go through some best practices and tips to use Microsoft Fabric. And lastly, we'll take questions. So without much ado, let's get down to brass tacks. So about me quickly, I'm Obinna. I'm a data consultant, career coach, author. I have a startup, right? We study analytics, we do data consulting. And when I'm not working with data, I enjoy reading, painting, and listening to tech podcasts. So first things first, what is Microsoft Fabric? So before I delve into Microsoft Fabric, it would be great to understand the data workflow, right? When you're trying to work on a data project, how does that happen? So if you look at the image here, right, you see several, this is a Microsoft ecosystem, and this for analytics. You see different tools, different platforms, right? So for example, a typical data project, data comes from different places. You use any tool, right, that is in your data stack to connect to the data, bring data in to a data lake house, right? From that lake house, you can now connect, use data from the lake house, write ETL scripts or ELT scripts, right, to create data warehouses, databases, etc., etc. And all this stuff, right, they are done with several tools. So this just for analytics alone, you're seeing Synapse, Databricks, Purview, etc., etc. When you delve into AI tools, you'll see several other tools also. And this just for Microsoft alone, right? You also have for other cloud platforms, AWS, GCP, etc. So you have several tools, and it can get really complicated when you're trying to build an end-to-end data project. So the complexity level of implementing data projects is very high. So the whole idea behind Microsoft Fabric is to simplify data project workflows, to make it simple. So what Microsoft Fabric is an end-to-end analytics platform, and it provides a single integrated environment for data professionals and the business to collaborate on data projects. So in simple words, it's a unified platform where you bring all the tools that you need to work to create a data project. And it provides a set of integrated services that enables you to ingest data. As a data engineer, you can work in the Microsoft Fabric to ingest or connect to data, right? Clean it up. As data scientists, you can also use the Microsoft Fabric to carry out your experiments, build data, build ML models, right, and do your stuff. As a data analyst or a BI engineer, you can also work in Microsoft Fabric to build your reports and dashboards. So in simple terms, Microsoft Fabric is the unified platform that contains all the tools you need to build out a data project. So let's look at some components of Microsoft Fabric. So this image here gives you an overview of the different components of Microsoft Fabric. So you have OneLag Storage. So I'll talk more about this on the next slide. But there's a storage component of Microsoft Fabric where you store your data. Then you also have Data Factory. And Data Factory is used for data integration, connect to data, clean and transform data. Then you have Synapse Data Engineering. So this is similar to if you know Synapse, right? Azure Synapse on its own as its own tool. It's similar to that also, right? But then it's now integrated with Fabric, and you can use it and leverage all the different components in Microsoft Fabric. Then you also have Synapse Data Warehouse. So this is the data warehousing tool in Microsoft Fabric to help you create data warehouses. Then Synapse Data Science. So here you can also carry out ML workflows and do your experiments with built-in tools, right? By leveraging the power of Microsoft Fabric. Then you have Synapse Real-Time Analytics. This is used for connecting to streaming data, right, from IoT sources, Azure Data Hub, etc. Then you have Power BI, right? I assume we all are familiar with Power BI. So you can also work with Power BI here in Microsoft Fabric. Then you also have the Data Activator. So this is like an action and event what's it called now? Action and event like trigger system, right? So you can, when you have your data in your destinations, right? You're working your data, you can set triggers based on rules. Once you hit this rule, right, you send an email to this person You can just automate actions, right, on your data with Data Activator. And then lastly, you have Purview. Purview is a data governance tool in Microsoft Fabric. So all these tools, right, they are all what makes up Microsoft Fabric, and they all work together and ensure that you can build an end-to-end solution and scale it right simply. That's the whole idea behind Microsoft Fabric, to ensure simple development of data projects. So let's look at the first component, the OneLake storage. So OneLake is the foundation of Fabric and is a unified location to store all your organizational data. So I think my stuff is slowing down. Cool. So with OneLake, right? The term OneLake means like you just have one source of data. All your data is stored in the OneLake. And a simple way to explain OneLake is akin to your OneDrive or your Google Drive system, right? So once you instantiate a Power Fabric instance, you have a OneLake storage assigned to that tenant or that instance. And then everybody in the organization, right, if they have the access, they can connect to that OneLake storage and build their solutions from that one source, similar to what you have in OneDrive, right? So let's say I'm in company A, and company A has what's a OneDrive solution. I, as Obinna, when I join the company, I'm giving my account, right, to sign in to OneDrive. I would have my own personal OneDrive folder where I can build subfolders, right, and put in my files, etc. It's the same thing with OneLake also, just like that. You have OneLake, that's the central OneLake storage system. Then everyone that has access can connect to that OneLake, right? Create their own workspaces, create their own lake houses, and build their own projects. You can also collaborate, right? But the beauty of this is that all the data is in one place. You don't have to copy data and take it to your own workspace to build with it. No, just connect to that data, and then you can clean it up, do what you want to do, and build your solutions. So this is the foundation of Fabric, and all the other components, right, they are built on top of OneLake. Then it is hierarchical and divided into tenants, workspaces, and lake houses for easy management and access. So, like I said, right, in a Fabric tenant, you have just one lake, just one lake, and then everyone can connect to that one lake, right, and build their own workspaces, their own lake houses, and carry out their projects in these containers. So you might ask, what's a lake house, right? A lake house is similar to a data lake, but then it also has the capabilities of a data warehouse. So data lake, in that you can store both structured data like tables, right, in the data lake. You can also store files like pictures, images. It's just like OneDrive, right? You can put a picture in OneDrive, a video in OneDrive. You can put your Excel file in OneDrive. So it's like a folder where you can store both unstructured and structured data. But then it also has capabilities of a data warehouse, in that you can run queries, right? In your lakehouse, you can run queries, query your data, create connections between your data, and do other fancy stuff. So OneLake is hierarchical, in that it's like you have a folder, for example, a subfolder under that subfolder, just like that. You can have hierarchies, right? And you can create workspaces and create lake houses. And we'll see example of this when we do a demo. And then OneLake is built on top of Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2. So I don't want to get too technical, right? But Data Lake Storage Gen 2. So with this, right, you have access to like data flow, data factory, and you can use data factory. You can build pipelines for data factory, right? Data engineers use that as your ETL, ELT tool, and then data flows. Power BI developers would have idea of what data flows is. So with data flows, you can use data flows to just like Power Query, right? online, connect to data, and build out data flows to do transformations. So it's built on top of data lake storage and so. And with this, right, you can provision. You don't need to provision any instance, right? It's just there. Just connect to it and just use it. That's how it works. And then it's prior to all Fabric compute experiences. So all the other components, right? The data engineering components, data science components, Power BI, streaming analytics, they are all wired onto OneLake. So once you in Fabric, you can connect to OneLake with any of those components and build out your solutions. And then OneLake simplifies data storage and eliminates the need to understand any infrastructure concepts. So with OneLake, you don't need to have an Azure account, right? Once you have that access to Microsoft Fabric, you can connect to OneLake, and you don't need to understand any technical jargon like maybe Azure Active Directory or role-based groups or all those connection stuff. You don't need to know anything about those stuff. Just have access to Fabric, connect to it, and then build out your solutions. And then OneLake also eliminates data silos and enables discovery, sharing, compliance, and security of data. So with OneLake, you don't need to create, so for example, right, the way we work in typical data projects, right, you have a data lake where you have all several data that are useful and not useful. If I want to build out a solution, maybe for the sales team, right, I'll connect to the lake house, build an ETL or ALT pipeline that tries to create a data model, right, for that project. So I'm basically making a copy of the data, right? Then I'll transform it and then put in the shape I want it to be. That's like a data silo, right? But with OneLake, I don't need to start copying the data or making changes. I just link to that source, right? The OneLake data source. And then I can manipulate that source, right? I don't change the data in OneLake. I just connect to it and then make changes and use that to build out my solutions. I don't need to start creating different compartments of data for X project or Y project or Z project, right? So it eliminates data silos. And also data governance is also a key aspect of OneLake, right? So all the benefits that you experience in your typical Power BI workspace, where you can give access to people or you can create security, right? Ensure that you don't give the wrong access to the wrong group of people. You can do all that also on OneLake. So it enables security of data, compliance, governance, etc. And then it also supports shortcuts, right? So with OneLake, so like I mentioned, right, you have several other cloud platforms like GCP, AWS, for example, right? So if, for example, I have an existing data lake, right, maybe on AWS, maybe an S3 bucket, for example, I have an AWS S3 bucket. I want to connect to that data and do something in Fabric. I can just create a shortcut. With that shortcut, right, I put my credentials, I connect to that S3 bucket, and I can. So I don't need to load the data into Fabric. I just create a shortcut that links to that data, right? And I can use that data in my Fabric instance to carry out my analysis. So with shortcuts, right, is a really powerful way to connect to your data in different other places. You can connect to an AWS bucket. You can connect to a Gen 2 lakehouse, right? I think that's possible also. So OneLake is the storage component of Microsoft Fabric, and it's the foundation of everything. Everything else is built on top of OneLake. So this a sample image that shows you what a lake house looks like, right? So when you create a fabric, when you Microsoft Fabric, right, and you're trying to maybe build out a solution, right? Maybe you want to do analysis or something. You go in there, maybe you want to do a data engineering workflow, or maybe a Power BI workflow. You want to leverage Fabric. The first thing you do is to create a lake house, right? So it looks like this. So when you come here, you see tables, right? So this is where you store structured data. Then you also have files. This is where you can store unstructured data like pictures, images, etc., etc., etc. So we'll look at this when we do our demo. Then the next component is Data Factory. And Data Factory is the data integration service. It allows you to connect to data, transform, and create data pipelines from various sources. So if you're familiar with Data Factory as a data engineer, right, then you also have data flows now integrated with Data Factory. So it's like combining Data Factory and also the Power Query environment together into one tool. So if you're someone that's comfortable with building data flows like Power Query, right, then Data Factory, you can use that component of Data Factory to do your analysis. And if you know how to build pipelines, right, with the native Data Factory, that also works for you. So it's used to connect to data, transform and clean up your data. And you have Azure Data Factory and data flows combined together into one tool. So it makes it more powerful. You can connect to several data sources and do a lot of cool stuff. And like I said, right, it combines the best of Power Query and Azure Data Factory into a single modern experience. And also you can connect to 170 plus data stores. So in addition to your native Power Query connectors, right? So with the Lakehouse, you also have connections to Lakehouse data sources, right? And also what's it called? KQL sources also. So you can use Data Factory, right, to connect to more data stores. And this is very beneficial when working with Microsoft Fabric. Then you can also create over 300 transformations using Data Factory. And it also has AI capabilities, right? And you can use this to like create really fancy transformations, right, using AI in Data Factory. And you can create data pipelines, create triggers, parameters, etc. I think I've talked about this using AI to connect to data. So because of time, let's go on to the next one. This is Synapse Data Engineering. So as a data engineer working with Microsoft Fabric, you spend a lot of time in this component, right? Synapse Data Engineering. And this provides all you need, right, to create data infrastructures using the Lakehouse. And you also have access, right, to pipelines to ingest your data. So in Synapse Data Engineering component, right, you can use Azure Data Factory to connect to data and build out your data infrastructure. And you have connectors for various data sources, right? Data can be stored in your Lakehouse as files, as unstructured data, or as data tables, that's structured data. And then I already talked about this. You can move data into your Lakehouse using shortcuts, or you can use your normal data integration tools like Data Factory to bring data into your data engineering component. You can also design pipelines to copy data in your Lakehouse. And then if you're familiar with writing code, right, in notebooks, Python code, Spark code, R code, you can also do all that cool stuff in the data engineering components. And you can create Spark jobs. And as a data engineer, right, you know the part Spark is really powerful when you're trying to run really heavy pipelines, working with very large data. Spark helps you to make it really fast and efficient. And then the Lakehouse, right, is not just for storing data. You can use that to also manage your data, right? Create data models, create connections, create relationships, and all that cool stuff. Then the data warehouse components. This data warehouse in Fabric, right, is the first data warehouse that supports open data formats. And when you say open data formats, so the data is stored in your Lakehouse, right, as Parquet files. Parquet, that's PARQUET, or Delta files, right? So Parquet files is a special kind of data structure in that is designed in a way that is compressed. So that way, right, when you're using it to build out your solutions, it gives you faster performance compared to traditional data storage formats. So it's designed to give you really efficient and effective performance because it's compressed, right? So with data in package files, you can really do a lot of analysis on large data, and it would work really, really fast and efficient for you. And then another beauty of the package file system is that it reduces vendor lock-in, right? So a package file, maybe if I'm a data engineer, I can write Spark code to connect to the data and transform it. Or as a BI developer, I can use Power Query, right, to connect to it and transform it. Or I can use SQL code to connect to that same data in the lakehouse and transform it. So it's an open data source. Anyone can use any different language you're familiar with to connect to it and clean it up. But when you think about your normal SQL database or data warehouse, you have to use SQL, right, to connect to it and do what you're trying to do. But now we can use different tools. If I don't know SQL, I can use Power Query or data flows, right, to connect to the data and do what I want to do. And I can also use Spark, right, if I'm comfortable with that, to connect to the data. And then it's also fully managed and integrated, right? You don't need to start provisioning instances. So in your normal Azure data warehouse, right, you have to provision an instance and put settings, right? Like the so when you're trying to create a data warehouse, right, in Azure, you go to the portal, right? Try to put the right settings to ensure that you create the data warehouse that meets the demands of your analysis. But here, right, it just you pay for what you use, basically. So you just connect to the data warehouse, start using it. If you put in large data, it scales to that amount and you pay for it. If you use small data, it scales to that amount and you pay for it. So it's really, really fully managed and integrated. You don't need to do any management, right, by yourself. And then same thing with this, right? You also separate your storage and your compute. That's data warehouse. And like I said earlier, right? If I don't know how to write code, I can use the visual interpreter to connect to the data, or I can use code, right? Python code, Spark code, SQL code. And then you also have virtual warehouses for cross-joining your data. So let's say I have an existing warehouse, right? Existing lake house rather. And I have a warehouse also. So I want to update my warehouse, maybe pull in more data, right? Update my pipeline to pull in more data from the lake house to my warehouse. I will need to physically move data from the lake house, right, to the warehouse. But with the data warehouse fabric components, you can create a virtual warehouse where you can cross-join data between a warehouse and a lake house. So I don't need to physically move data from the lake house to the warehouse. I can just create a virtual warehouse where I can join data and create what I want to do. And then the data warehouse is also fully integrated with Power BI. So with Power BI, you can just connect to your data warehouse and carry out your analysis. Then the data science component, so because of time, I'll run through this. So with these, right, as a data scientist, you can use this to build on the data that's created by the data engineering team. So you can prepare data, you can write code with Data Wrangler. Data Wrangler is I can say it's like Power Query for data scientists, right? The difference is that you're able to see your transformations, right, as Python code. So as you're doing your drag and drop with the Power Query tool, you're seeing the code, right, as Python code, and you can export this to your notebook, right? So it's like Power Query for data scientists, Data Wrangler, and it's very, very powerful, and it helps you to like carry out your EDA as a data scientist. Then you also have ML models, right? So even if I don't know how to like write really complex code, I can use dragging and dropping tools, right, to create experiments with ML flow. And then Synapse ML also has a lot of libraries for machine learning, right? And then you can enrich data in your lakehouse with scalable predicts. So if you're trying to create new features in your data, you have a built-in tool that you can use to do that. And then it also supports R language. So if you write R code, you can also use that in the Synapse Data Science ecosystem. Then for the real-time analytics, it enables users, right, to quickly access data insights through data streaming. So you're trying to report data in real time, right? Maybe streaming data, IoT data. You can use the real-time analytics component in Microsoft Fabric. And it simply integrates with all the other tools, right?
I think our speaker is frozen. Let me see. Let me see if there's a way I can reach him. Might not know, that's the risk. Obinna, in case you hear me, you're frozen. You know, your screen, your video, no audio anymore. So I'll try to also message him. I think I have his email and LinkedIn. So just that if he doesn't know, he might not really check. Because that's the risk we run when people are doing presentations. They might not know when something goes wrong. So let's see. I think he's probably must have noticed now he's completely off. So I've sent him a message on LinkedIn. I'm also going to do an email so that our chances of getting his attention goes up. Let me just... Yeah, I think he's back. All right. We lost you for some seconds. You are on real-time analytics. Can you unmute yourself so I can tell you where you are actually?
Yeah.
Okay, so you see the tiles on your screen, right? As when you disconnected, you're on the second tile. Yeah,
Second
that
one.
was
Okay.
yeah. So maybe you can start from the second one because I don't even think I remember anything you said about that second one.
Okay, cool. So for the real-time analytics, right, it integrates with all the other Fabric experiences. So the Lakehouse, the data warehouse, the Azure Data Factory, and Power BI, they are all connected, right, to the streaming real-time analytics component. So basically, when you connect to your IoT source, right, or streaming source and build your data, you can just link directly to Power BI, for example, and build your reports with just one click, right? That's an example. So it's integrated easily with all the other components. And then the next point, right? It simplifies the experience of connecting to streaming data. So it's very, very easy. You just click, and you've linked to your streaming. To query it.
Okay, so it happened again. I'm not sure you noticed. I don't. Hi, Obinna.
This customer, if we see that
Okay, hi, Obinna. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
It happened again. So we lost you for like 3 minutes. Do you think, did you change anything? Maybe like you switched to another network? Because all was very awesome, the first 35 minutes. So did you notice maybe something changed at your end? Maybe your network changed?
I'm using my house Wi-Fi. Let me switch to my personal phone and see if that's better.
Okay, because it has happened like 3 times in the last 5 minutes, and I'm like, it's strange since it didn't happen all this while.
Yeah, let me switch to my
Okay.
personal phone to see if that's better.
Okay.
Wi-Fi. Is personal data, personal hotspots. Sneeze up, listen. Personal hotspots. Come on, Wi-Fi. Oh, you can hear me clearly, right?
Yes, I hear you. You've done the switch, right?
I'm still trying to switch.
Okay, because I'm surprised too. I'm like, I was hoping that it will have disconnected you and like you won't hear us for a time.
Okay, yeah, so I'm on my phone's network now. So I hope that this is
So
better.
please, you do us another favor. You go to the previous screen. I'll tell you where we all heard you clearly up to. So you see that? No. One more. Go like add one more time. Go forward one. Yeah. So I think here. So yeah. This one. Click Power BI report. That's where we lost you.
Okay, cool. So for the fourth tile, right? Like we said, the streaming component of Microsoft Fabric is integrated with all the other Fabric experiences. So once you build your streaming data sets, you're able to just create a report with just one click. So you click a button, right, and you build your report from the streaming data you've created. And then the next tile, right, the streaming component is truly serverless. So you don't need to start provisioning number of SKUs or other stuff like that. Based on your data rights, it scales up or it scales down. It's elastic, and you only pay for what you use, right? So it's serverless. It just adjusts based on the data you're working with. If you have large data, it scales up to meet that demand. If you have small data, it scales down to meet that demand, and you only pay for what you use. And then it provides real-time streaming availability in seconds. from the point of ingesting your data to querying it, the data becomes available in seconds. So it's really, really fast. It's giving you real-time analysis. And then for data activator, this is the data events trigger system in the Fabric. And with this, it helps you to automate your actions based on your data. So I was giving an example before, right? So let's say you've done building your report, right, from your data in Microsoft Fabric, and you're trying to set up an alert, maybe that shows when a particular customer, right, has gone below maybe a threshold value, or maybe he's late on settling the invoice amount or something like that. You can set an alert, right, that just sends an email to someone. That's a simple example, but it can get very complicated, right? So it helps you to set event trigger systems that automate actions based on your data. And it can act on any type of data in Microsoft Fabric, whether it's slow-moving data in your warehouse or it's real-time streaming data in Azure Event Hubs. You can set an event trigger system on all those data sources. And it works right through a three-step process. The first step is to connect to your data. The second step is to detect the condition you specify. This is where you set a rule, right? If this data goes below this threshold, do X or do Y. So you set the rule, and then once that rule is detected, right, it triggers the action and sends the alert that you specified. So that's data activator. So now let's look at what we're familiar with, right? Power BI in Microsoft Fabric. So in Microsoft Fabric, right, Power BI, you still have access to all your previous resources and capabilities. But now in Fabric, it provides a new experience, right, where you can leverage all these other components of Fabric in your workflow. So you can use Power BI as a unified platform and connect to all the other components, data warehouse components, the streaming components, data science components, the lakehouse. You can use all these, right, and benefit from them in your Power BI development. And Power BI in Microsoft Fabric is powered by Azure Synapse. So you've seen Synapse a couple of times: Synapse Data Science, Synapse Data Engineering, Synapse Streaming Analytics. That's what powers Microsoft Fabric, right? And the Lakehouse solution, that's OneLake. So everything we've talked about, right? You now add Power BI into the mix, and you have Microsoft Fabric. And it offers 6 experiences, right? Data integration with Data Factory that we've seen before now, data engineering, data warehousing, data science, real-time analytics, and BI with Power BI. And another addition, right, to Power BI Microsoft Fabric is Copilot. So Copilot is using large language models, right, to help you create your reports automatically. So with the AI feature that Copilot gives to you, you can really add, you can scale up your development time, make it faster, right, and also derive insights faster with the AI capability that Copilot gives to you in Microsoft Fabric. So currently is in preview, right? And you can opt in or opt out of it through the admin portal. So at this point, let's look at benefits for Power BI developers. So the first benefit, right, is that you have a unified platform. So when you sign up for Fabric in Power BI, you have access to all the other components alongside Power BI. And it provides a unified platform, right, where all the data stakeholders, engineers, scientists, BI developer, they can all work together seamlessly and collaborate to build data projects. Then you also have enhanced connectors, right? So we mentioned data factory, we mentioned data flows. So with all these, right, you have access to more connectors, adding to what Power BI gives to you normally. So you have access to, for example, you can connect to a lakehouse, you can connect to KQL instances, etc. And then you have unified data foundation with direct lake mode. So when you talk about OneLake, right, when you connect to data in a lake house with Power BI, that's called a direct lake connection or direct lake mode. Before now, you know about import mode, you know about direct query, you know about live connections, but you also have now with Microsoft Fabric, you have what's called a direct lake mode. And this is simply when you connect to a lake house with
Hi, Obinna, can you hear me? Uh, okay, I think he must have noticed it too. Sorry, everyone. It's unfortunately we can see that he's trying his best. He switched from his house Wi-Fi to phone. So we just hope that whatever was making it possible that for the first 35 minutes we were hearing him very well, and he had his video on earlier, so it could just be usual network issue that you can't control. But I'm sure he's trying to rejoin because he's disconnected, so it means something must have changed, and I hope he's able to join quick enough. I'm finding the session interesting. If you have any questions, please also leave them in the chat. But thanks, Jennifer, for helping us to set a marker on where we head him up to. And if you have questions, please put them in the chat box. Interestingly, we don't have any more session today, so I'm not going to be in a rush. As long as you are not in a rush, whatever minutes we've missed based on this network issue, we'll tell him to cover, like he should still go ahead with his original. He's back in. So Obinna, yeah, you're back in. So I was about to say that we might be much more generous with the time so that, you can still cover what you originally intended. So as long as you are chanced, if you need extra minutes, please feel free to, take additional minutes so that we'll get all of what you planned for us, because I think with some of this network that took you off, you probably have lost a few minutes. Thanks.
yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you, and I see your screen.
Yeah, apologies for the heat, man.
No,
I know that
it's not within your control, now our control. It's one of those things that, and it's, like I said, everything was good the first 35 minutes. So obviously it means, it is none of your own doing too. Okay, please go on.
Yeah, so I don't know where I cut off, right? But I'll just start from this third point, right? So benefits for Power BI developers. It provides a unified data foundation with direct lake mode. So before now, if you're familiar with import mode, right? Direct query mode, live connections. But then you also have with Fabric, you now have a new connection mode, which is direct lake. So it means that you're connecting directly to your lake house, and that's called a direct lake connection. And the beauty of the direct lake connection is that, so you know that import mode, right, gives you the best performance because you're importing data into Power BI. So the data is in Power BI, so you can query it fast, efficiently, effectively, right, to give you your outputs. Then direct query on the other hand, you get real-time data, but you get poor performance because anything you're doing, you have to query the source. you send queries and then get the results back. So you have what poor performance compared to import mode. But with the direct lake mode now, you now have the best of both worlds, right? So you have a direct connection to the lake house, meaning that you're getting real-time data. On the other hand, right, I mentioned that the lake house, it stores the data as package files. And these package files, they are compressed, right? The way they're structured, they are compressed. So with that, it gives you similar performance as the import mode. But you don't have to import into Power BI, right? It's a direct connection. But then because of those formats, right, as a package file, it gives you similar performance as import mode, while also giving you what real-time connection as a direct query connection. So it gives you the best of both worlds, right? Import direct query. So with direct lake mode, you're able to what choose a connection mode, right? That gives you the best of both worlds. And then you also have next generation of AI with Copilot in Power BI. So with Power BI, right, using large language models, you can query your data smartly, efficiently, and it also speeds up your development. And you now have Git integration for Power BI data sets and reports. So meaning that you can now version control your Power BI reports. Before now, that was not possible, right? But with Power BI Fabric, you're able to collaborate, create versions of your reports, right? Create branches and do other cool stuff that you can do with Git. And lastly, you also have end-to-end governance. So you're able to have proper data governance for your data artifacts in Microsoft Fabric. So let's look at how to get started with Microsoft Fabric. At this point, I'll go to my browser. Give me a second. So if you're a new user, right? If you're a new user and you don't have a Power BI license account, first thing you do is you go on to app.fabric.com, right? To sign up for a Power BI license. So I'll just go on to this. So app.fabric.microsoft.com. So as a new user, right, when you come on here, currently I have an account, so it will show me the home, but let me just come here and sign out. Yeah, cool. So I come back here again, app.fabric. So when you come on here as a new user, right, it will give you the option to probably create an account. It's showing me all the stuff because I have an account. But basically, it gives you the option to sign in, right? So when you come here, you can sign up rather. You put your email and then sign up for an account. So it will require you to have either a work account, right? Or yeah, a work account, because you can't use a Gmail or Yahoo Mail to create the Microsoft or Fabric license account. So I'll put a video later before the class ends in the chat that shows you how to create a Microsoft developer account. With that account, you have access to. So you see this email here, right? This is a developer account I created on Microsoft, and with that, I have access to like all the Microsoft components, including Fabric and Power BI. So with that, right, you can create the accounts. Once you have that, you can now go on to the next step, which is to start a Fabric preview trial. So Microsoft provides a 60-day trial for Fabric, and anyone, right, with a Power BI license, you can leverage this trial to see how Fabric works. So first, you go onto the Fabric homepage, and this is simply the same link as before, right? app.fabric.com, but now /home. That's a home page, right? So I'll enter this. But now I need to sign into my account. Use this account and then next. I'll enter my password. So I'll put in my code quickly. So this. So I put in my code and verify it, and then I'm signed into Fabric. So app.fabric.microsoft.com.home, right? So this is where you come onto. And then the next thing you want to do, right, is you go onto the account. So this is what it looks like, right? What I showed you now. Then you go onto the account manager and select start trial. So this is what you do. You come onto this account manager here, which is this. And then, so currently I already doing a trial, but you see where you can start trial here on the manager. So you click on that. When you click on that, you see a tab similar to this. So it brings up a tab like this, right? So it says start trial. Then you click on that start trial. And then you see a message that says what got it. When you click on that, you now see that what you have something like what I have currently, showing that you now have access, right, to Microsoft, and it shows you the days that are left. So currently I did this trial yesterday, so I have 59 days left. So you have 60 days access to do this. So once you have that, right, you now have access to Microsoft Fabric. So let's go into Microsoft Fabric now and try to do some simple demo. So just to ensure that we build on what we know before, right? I'll sign in also to Power BI. So app.powerbi.com. So I'll come in here also. So you can also leverage Power BI. You can leverage Fabric from Power BI, right? This Fabric, you can see Power BI, you can see Data Factory, you can see all the components here. But I can also access Fabric from Power BI, right? So this Power BI, like we know it. But now you see some, so currently I have Fabric enabled, right? When you look here, you see that this is what's showing. It's showing me Fabric trial, right? 59 days left. So this currently, my account has a Fabric trial license. And when you come here, you see what? You see OneLag Data Hub, which you talked about. So currently this Power BI, right? I'll click on this Power BI icon. And let's do a normal Power BI development. So I'll come on here, I'll click on Power BI. So this Power BI, let me make a new workspace. So I'll come to workspaces and let me create a new workspace as normal. And I'll call this your Biz Edge tutorial workspace. Yeah, something like this. And then I'll scroll down. So once you have Fabric activated, right, you come down to advanced. Let's scroll down, come down to advanced. You see Pro trial, right? So because we have the Fabric option, you will see this trial option. It means that what you're currently under a Fabric trial option. You also see something like premium per user down there, but we'll just stick to the trial license mode because that's what Fabric trial gives to us. With this, we can access the Fabric components. So once I have this trial option, I click on apply. And this creates my workspace. This is a Power BI workspace, right? And just as normal, you can come on to new and you can create a Power BI reports, paginated reports, and other Power BI elements, right? So now we mentioned several Fabric components, the warehouse, the lakehouse, etc. How do we access that in this workspace? So we do that by creating a lakehouse, right? So I'll come down to this Power BI icon. I'll click on this. And now you see all these different Microsoft Fabric components. This Power BI, Data Factory, Data Activator, Data Engineering, etc. So I'll go on to Data Engineering component. I'll click on this engineering component. And here, right, you now see what those things look like. You can see a lake house, right? You can see a notebook. You can create a Spark job, a pipeline, etc. So because of time, quickly, I'll just click on this option to make a lake house. This is what you do in most cases, right? When you're creating something in Fabric, you make a lake house where you can hold all your artifacts. And this lake house, I'll call it AdventureWorks. AdventureWorks. And just to differentiate it from the other one there, I'll call it your Biz Edge, something like this. AdventureWorks your Biz Edge, and I'll create this. So I'm making a lake house, right? And remember that a lake house is like the storage where you can store all your artifacts. You can store both structured data and unstructured data in your lake house. So currently, right, this is my lake house, and you have tables where you store structured data. It's currently empty. You also have files where you can store unstructured data, like pictures, videos, etc. So because of time, I'll just go through this quickly. So you can bring data into your lake house, right, using a data flow gen 2. So you can use like a data flow or Azure Data Factory, right? You can create a pipeline. You can use a notebook where you can run Spark jobs, right, to connect to your data. Or you can use a shortcut. So I mentioned shortcut, right? With this, you can bring in data from what? A lakehouse gen 2 in Azure, or an S3 bucket, or from Fabric itself, right? If you want to do that also. So for example, just do something simple because we don't have much time. So I want to bring in some files that I have on my local folder. So I'll come on this ellipsis, right? I'll click on this and I'll click on upload. So I'll upload files. And I want to bring in the file from my local folder. So I'll click on this tab here. And on my folder, right, I have this folder that contains data files. And here you have two files. One is an Excel file and a CSV file. So I want to bring this Excel file. This is the data works data warehouse, right, in Excel format. So I'll hit open to bring it into my lake house, and I'll hit upload. So note that I'm bringing it into what? The files section, right? The file section. So basically, the file is where you can store what? Both structured and unstructured data. This is currently an Excel file. I can bring in pictures, I can bring in videos and store them all here. So now let's try to connect this data now in our lakehouse, right? So this is my files folder. I have an Excel file called AdventureWorks.dw. I want to now connect to this data here in my lakehouse and try to build a data model. So I'll come on to get data and let's use the data flow option, data flow gen 2. So I'll click on this and you see that it's similar to Power Query, right? If you have Power Query experience, then it should look very familiar to you. So I'll come on to this option, data flow, right? See, like Power Query, you can import from Excel, SQL Server, etc. But in this case, I want to import that file in my lakehouse, the Excel file I imported. So I'll come on again to get data and I'll click on more. So I see several options, right? I want to connect to my lakehouse. So I'll type in lakehouse here. And this is my lakehouse. So I'll click on this lakehouse option. And I'll click on next. So this is my lakehouse, right? And in my lakehouse, I want to connect to that Excel file. So I saved it in what? This is my lakehouse. I call my lakehouse your BizEdge tutorial. So in here, right, you have what? AdventureWorks, your BizEdge. So in here, you had tables and files, right? In the files folder, that's where I saved that Excel file. So this is the file, right? AdventureWorks. This is my Excel file. So I'll choose the Excel file and click create to create a connection to this file. So if you look here, right, you see that what is creating the series of apply steps, just like Power Query, right? So this is source, navigation. This is where I imported the Excel file. And this is the Excel file. You have several tables in the Excel file, about 11 tables. So for this, I want to just work with 2 tables. What I'll do is I'll duplicate this query, a copy of it. So for the first file, I want to just bring in the internet sales table, right? So I'll click on the internet sales table. So you can see it's adding steps, right? On the apply steps, you can see the steps, right? Navigation, promoted header, etc. This is my table, right? So I don't, because of time, we'll just bring this in as it is. No need to make any steps. The data is kind of clean. So I'll call this table, I'll call it facts internet sales. Because that's what the table we brought in, right? For internet sales. And I want to load this to my data lake house. So when you come down here, you see data destination, right? This table I created, I want to load some to a destination. And in this case, I'll take it to my data lake house. So I'll come on here and click on this gear icon. This gear icon here, I'll click on it. And it opens up this tab, right? Where I can specify where I want to load my data to. So I want to load this. So you know, in my lake house, I have two sections, right? The tables and the files. File has unstructured data. White tables will hold what my actual structured data I want to work with. So I want to load this now to the table part of my lake house. This is my lake house. I'll click on next. So it shows me the different components, right? I want to save this to the Your Biz Edge tutorial. So I'll save it to. And in the AdventureWorks Your Biz Edge lake house, it's called Fact Internet Sales. Yeah. So I hit next. So it now shows you this view, right? So it's asking you, how do you want to update the destination? When data changes, would you append or replace it? So I'll go with replace, right? Overwrite any data that's there and put everything that's there. You can now check what the column mapping between the source and destination, the types. So I think all these are whole numbers, whole numbers. And then you have one text there. Yeah, so I think it's okay. I hit save settings. Cool. So we're able to take this table right into AdventureWorks. So when I come to this, okay, let me finish what I'm doing. So this is for internet sales, right? Let's do another one. I want to bring in one more table. So in this case, I'll bring in, let's do dim products. I want to bring in the dim products. These are all my tables. I want dim products. I'll choose a dim product. And I'll name this also, I'll call it dim product. I'll try to get fast because we don't have time again. Dim products. Cool. So we won't do much transformations. We just try to load this to the lake house. I'll come to the settings also. The same drill. I click on next. And this is my product table. Save it to the Your Biz Edge lake house also. And when I come here, I'll put it here and hit next. So here I'll do some changes, right? So this type is showing any category key. That should be a whole number. So I'll choose whole number there. I'll scroll down also. Standard costs. This should be like decimal number, I think. So I'll scroll down again. List price should be like decimal number. Dealer price, similarly, decimal number. So I can ignore the photo. I don't need that. And then end date. This should be like a date column. So I'll choose date. Once I have this, I hit save settings. So what it's doing, right? It maps our tables, right, to the workspace. But this data is not yet in the workspace. We'll need to publish this data flow before these tables will now be populated in the workspace. So once I have these two tables, what I'll do next is to just publish this data flow. So this is my lake house, right? And these are the AdventureWorks lake house. And I open this up. So these are Excel file. in the tables folder, it's still empty, right? Because our data flow is still running. It's not done yet. So just give it a few seconds, it should come up. Let me refresh this. So it's still running, it's not done yet. Refresh in progress. So while that's happening, right? If you look at this, your BizEdge workspace, you see several components. This is like a data set, right? So this is a default data set. All the artifacts that are in this workspace, they are all what's saved to this data set by default. Everything that's here, right? So you now have what an SQL endpoint also. So this endpoint, right? If I want to work with this data here as an SQL developer, I can switch to the endpoints and write SQL queries to work with the data. And then this is Lakehouse, right? You also have staging. So everything here has a staging component, right? And this is just a way of moving data from your source to this destination. So I'll open up this Lakehouse now. I expect this to have finished running by now. Yeah, so you can see our tables, right? DIM product and fact internet sales. So we're able to create these tables, right, in our Lakehouse. So one more thing I want to do is I want to bring in one more file. So I'll upload a file, right, from the same folder we used before. This CSV file, I'll upload it also to the files folder, upload. And what I want to do now is I want to just bring in this file, right? So now, instead of going through the same stuff we did with data flow, I can just click on this stuff, drag it to the files folder and drop it there. And I just hit, let's see, append overrides, DIM product has a name. Table name, I'll just call it load file to existing table. No, just move it to the folder itself. That's what I want to do. Yeah. So dim date and load, that's all. So I just moved the CSV file, right, from the folder, the files folder, toward the tables. So what it does is that it's trying to do the same thing, right? Creating a data flow and then convert those data into what? A table, and then put it in the tables folder here. So once that's done, right, I'll have 3 tables here. Let me refresh this. Yeah, so now I have 3 tables, right? DIM date, DIM product, and fact internet sales. So I mentioned that you can query data, right, in the Lakehouse. So for that, I'll come on to this top right, right? Click on this drop down, and you can see what SQL endpoint. So I'll switch to the endpoints, and here I can now write SQL code, right, to query data. So this is my data currently, right? I can write a new SQL query. This is a DIM date, this is a product, this is internet sales. You can create views, functions, stored procedures, and other SQL artifacts. So I'll come to an SQL query, and I'll just do a simple query, select, and then from fact internet sales, join DIM products. Just give it an alias, FID, DIM products. This DP. No, I didn't say it should run yet. I'll call this DP. And then so both tables, they are connected by a product key. So dp.product key is equal to FID dot product key also. So, and here I want the following columns. I want the dp dot English product name. I think that's what it's called. English product name. And I also want the count of FID dot product key.
Just to mention your English, you put T instead of H at the end of English. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Product name, count of this as count of products from this, on this. So I see let's do a group by, then group by this value here. So I can run a query here, right? And then let's see if this is accurate. Group by, take this off, group by this column. Yeah, so I'll run this. So these are the results. And then just sort this. Just sort this. Ordered by ordered by this count of products. In descending order. So I'll run this again. I know it's my network or something. It's taking time to load. It is not sorted yet. Not by count of products, the same order. So this is water bottle and then king patches. So these are ordered, right? So this is one way of querying data in your lake house. Alternatively, what I can do is I can use a visual query. So if you look here, you see a new visual query, right? So if you don't know how to write SQL, you can also do the same thing with a visual query. So here, the visual query, what I can do is I'll drag both tables to the view. This is like drag and drop in. So I drag this and drag is also to the view. So I want to replicate the same thing we just did now with this interface. So here, what I'll do is I'll do a join, that's a merge queries. So I want to merge internet sales on products using the product key. Product key. And I want to do an inner join. Okay. So we have a join here, right? They are both joined together. And this is a table. So I open this up. I just want one column I just want the English products name. So I hit OK. It's my table. Then I can add one more step, right, to group by. Or just need to group this right by the count of all the rows. So I'll call this count of products also. And I'll hit OK too. When I sort this, right, it's another. See the exact same thing, water bottle 4244. When I go to the query that we just created now, right, see the exact same thing too. SQL query too, 4244. So you can create your lake house, put files there, and query it, right? So that's a lake house. You can store data in the data lake as a data lake, right? You can also run queries like a data warehouse. So that's the beauty of the lake house. You add those two components together beautifully. So because of time, I'll just quickly do something, right? So I'll go back to my workspace, my lake house rather. So here, right, remember that in the workspace, right, we saw what was it called? In the workspace, we saw a data set by default. This contains all the data, right, that's in this workspace. So let's say, for example, this is a workspace for a particular department. Now, I don't want everyone to have access to all the data. I want to just create different variations of the data right here. So if I come back to the lake house, right, I can create a new Power BI data set where I just put in data I want to give access to and then push that out. So I'll click on new Power BI data sets. I'll click on this. And this will just bring up all the files, right, that's currently here. So here I'll just choose the tables, products, internet sales, and dim date, right, and hit confirm. So note that this should be fast, right? But I have poor network. That's why it's doing like that. So I'll come on here and you see that this is just like the model view in Power BI, right? You can create your connections and do all that cool stuff. You can create a measure, a new measure also. You can do a lot of cool stuff. You can make your reports quickly here if you want to. So I'll come on here and I'll just create connections between these tables. So products, I'll just rearrange this. So these two, they are linked by order date key is connected to date key. So date key, I'll drag this to this place. Confirm. And similarly, these two are linked by product key. So product key to product key, just like this. I'll confirm this. So we're done creating our data sets. What I can do next is let's connect to this in Power BI, my desktop. So here in this view, right, you can make a report. Just one click on this stuff, and it opens up this view, and you can start working with this data, right, to make a Power BI report. So you can see you have the Power BI interface. And the model I just created here, right, dim date product internet sales. I can start creating reports here in Microsoft Fabric and doing other cool stuff. But then if you want to work with Power BI desktop also, right, you can use Power BI desktop to also connect to the same data sets that you created here. So I'll just do that, then we'll round up because of time. But there are other cool stuff that you can do right here in Microsoft Fabric with Power BI. So I'll minimize this. It's my Power BI desktop, right? And I want to connect to data. So you can see this new icon that I have here, right? This is the OneLag Data Hub. Data sets, data mats, lake houses, warehouses, KQL databases. Can connect to these data sources. So in our case, I want to connect to my lake house, right? I'll click on the lake house. I need to sign in. That's crazy. So let me just copy this email. So I need to sign in to access the Fabric instance. Yes, I'm not signed in, right? So I'll come on here. So let me do it one more time. So I'll come on here and connect to my lake house. Looks like I'm in the wrong account. Crazy. What's new? So I'll try one more time. Lake house.
I think when you were logging in, you still picked the wrong account. You picked Obinna when you were logging in, but it was Bisabi that you created the artifacts with.
Yeah, that's true.
If you need to stop sharing so that you can, you know, for your privacy, you can stop
Yeah.
sharing temporarily.
So just give me a second.
Thank you all for staying till now. If you have questions, I know some questions have come up. You can put them in the chat. When it's done, I will read the questions to you.
So I'm signed in. Let me share my screen.
Thanks.
So I come back here and lake houses. Yeah, cool. So I can see the artifact now. So I was in the wrong account previously. So we were working with the AdventureWorks Your Biz Edge Lake House. So I'll connect to this. And here, right, I can now see the data that I created in the lake house. So when I come on here, I can see the data model, right? And this workflow is useful when you're trying to create a centralized model. So I, for one, can create a model, right, like this. And then people can connect to that model, right, in the lake house and use that to build their reports. And the beauty is that everyone has the same central model, right, working with the stuff. Only I can make updates to this. So it ensures that everyone, right, works with updated data. So with this, you can come on here and make a report as normal, right? So I can bring in a visual. Let's just do what we did previously. Bring in a card visual, and I can show the count, right? So don't start writing measures, just show the count of products here.
Just to sneak in a question,
Okay, yeah.
it looks like it's not going to be possible to create a new column, right? It's just going to be strictly new measures.
Yeah, because the data set, right, that I created. So you can't make changes to it. But if you connect to, like, for example, so remember we mentioned, like, you have imports mode, you have direct query and direct lake, right? And
Yes.
so if you have import mode, for example, you can make changes to the data, you can create a new query, you can do a lot of data calculation and stuff like that. But with direct query mode, when you connect to direct query, it looks like this also.
Like
You
this,
can't
yeah.
you can't change the data. So it's the same thing also, right? This is like a direct link connection. So with this, you can just only use this to build your reports, right? I think you can make measures also. You can create new measures. Yeah. But you won't see the data view. And anything I'm doing here, right, it will not affect the central data sets that's in the lakehouse. So that way, I'm sure you've seen scenarios where developer A builds a report and has different numbers from developer B because they imported data and did different changes. Because of that, you have different things they are reporting. But with this, right, once everyone connects to the same data model, this one, they will get the same results because it's central and you cannot change the source, right? As long as you don't have permission to do that. So everyone can just connect to this, build their reports, and do a lot of cool stuff. So time is fast spent, right? But there are a lot of cool things you can do with Fabric. You can explore the Copilot to use AI to build reports. You can also explore the data science parts of this, right? So you can try to create notebooks or create Spark jobs, right? To do a lot of cool things. So at this junction, because of time, I'll just take questions and then we'll round up. Okay, so quickly, right? Best practice when you're working with Fabric, it's good to separate development between teams. So if you're trying to create a data project, right, for the sales team, for example, you create a workspace, a lake house for that's development job. For the finance team, same thing too. You create a different lake house, a different workspace for that development, right? Or you can do it by project, right? For this project, you build a lake house and a workspace for that project. So you create different development workflows for all those different teams or different projects. And then you can leverage Git integration, right? So we didn't go into that because like it's an intro class, but you can use Git, right, to version control and save your Power BI files. So you can create branches, collaborate, and do a lot of cool things with your Power BI files. And then it's also great to use deployment pipelines when you're trying to release your data solutions. So you can have what test, dev, and production stages of your development, right? So before you push a file, you first test it, right, in the dev stage and see if it's giving you the required performance before you now push it to production. So you try to implement those best practices when working with Microsoft Fabric and Power BI. And then also, right, leverage Copilot. We didn't go over Copilot, right? But you can use Copilot, the AI functionality, to help you speed up your development workflow. So at this point, I'll take questions and then we'll round up.
Wow, thanks a lot. This is an in-depth session you've had for us. So let me go into the questions that are outstanding. I tried to answer a few, but I thought some are just best to let you answer. So someone asked, Paul asked, what's the difference between DW and DL? So I told him data warehouse and data lake, but he wants to hear more about the difference, not the full meaning. So I said, okay, I will let you handle that.
Yeah. So data lake, right? Data lake, I gave a good anecdote, right? A good example is like OneDrive or Google Drive, where you can save. Okay, not all data lakes, right? Data Lake Gen 2 is like OneDrive or Google Drive, where you can save structured data, right? Or unstructured data. When you say structured data, you're talking about Excel files, CSV files. You can store that in a data lake. You can also store unstructured data like videos, pictures, and every other kind of files. You can store semi-structured data like JSON files. You can store XML files. You can store any kind of data in a data lake, right? It's like where you just go and dump all the data, just put it in there. Then when you are trying to now use that data now to build maybe a data solution, you can now try to create a data warehouse. A data warehouse now is mostly you're creating a data model, right? Where, for example, let's say in my company now, right, we dump all our data in the data lake. Now I want to create a model that the sales team, for example, can use to report and make decisions, right? I can now try to go to the data lake and look for the important data I need, right? Maybe like table A, table B, table C. I have 100 tables, but it's just that tree I need for my analysis. I pick those three, I write a pipeline, right, or an ETL or ELT script that loads that data, transform it, maybe join it, clean it up, and then create a data model that's tailored to the sales team needs. They can use that to answer your questions. That's like a data warehouse. So with that now, they can connect to that in Power BI, Tableau, etc., and build their reports, right? So this is just like a simple way to explain what data lake and data warehouse is. Data lake is where you just dump all the data, you put it there, pictures, files, tables, everything, you just put it there. But data warehouse now, you now try to structure it and create a data dimensional model that you can use to answer business questions. So it's mostly called an OLAP transaction, right? Analytical queries, what you run on your data warehouse, is used to answer business questions and ensure that the team, in this case, the sales team, right, they can use that to inform their business decisions and perform efficiently. So I hope that answers your question on the warehouse and the lake house.
Yeah, thanks. So, Paul, we've addressed your question. One extra thing I do usually just maybe tell people is that for the data warehouse, a lot of times it's usually a relational SQL DB that is mostly in there. So Said has a question about the licensing. He says ones need a pro license to have a workspace. I tried to explain to him that, the app.fabric.microsoft.com, that yes, he needs a Fabric license, but he can get a 60 days trial. So
yeah, so what I'll do, let me just do something. I'll put a video link on the chat, right? So with that, you can create what's called a Microsoft developer account. Once you create that, then just go to my channel. So with this, you can create a developer account. So once you have that account, right, you can sign into Fabric, and you have access. So you're not the admin, right? So the catch is that what most times, right, if you work in a company, for example, unless the admin comes to the admin portal, right? So unless the admin goes to the portal and gives you access to Fabric, you might not be able to use the trial. But if you're working with the developer account, right, you're the admin of the account. So you can just activate the trial and then do what you're trying to do. So give me a second. Video is popular. I think the second video. Yeah, this video. So I'll just put the link on the chat. So with this, you can create a developer account, right? And you can now follow the steps in the video, right? How to create the Fabric free trial. But like I said, right, you need to have like a Fabric or Power BI account. So in the chat, I'll paste that there. So this, for someone that does not have like a Power BI account, you can just use this link, watch the video, and create a developer account. Once you have that, that's what I use to do everything I'm doing here, right? With that, I can access all the Microsoft components and build all the stuff. So next question.
okay, so thanks. So two more questions from the house, but if anyone has any additional question, feel free to mention, as long as Obinna is able to spare us the time. But lastly, two questions. But before those two questions, to fulfill our promise, we would like you to ask a question, and whoever gets the answer will get a prize award. So a question that someone who must have been paying attention,
Yeah.
throughout this your presentation.
Yeah. So I mentioned that in the lake house, right? In OneLag, data is stored in a special format. What's the special format called?
So
So in the OneLag, right, data is stored in a special format.
special format. I remember, and you explained that because it is well compressed, and then it's got like a French kind of pronunciation. I'm giving you tips. So I want someone to win. Okay, so while we are waiting for the answers, the last two questions that we have, for all our special guests is I'll combine them for you because of time, and I'm sure you have other things to do. So we're grateful that you've taken this much time to, to cover a lot for us. So the question is there are two, but I'll combine them. One is, tell us your journey, how you progressed to this stage. I don't think you started from kindergarten. I'm sure you started from somewhere, in your adult life, and it would be nice, to hear how you navigated the this data analysis domain to determine where you want to be and be an expert, and get to this level. So that's your personal interesting story we want to hear. Then number two is your advice. What advice you have for someone who is going from zero to also this level of competence and industry relevance. So we want to hear from you. And back to the audience, please, the question, we're still waiting for your answer. Data in OneLag is stored in what particular underlying format? Please put in your answer and you get the prize. Okay, yes, Obinna, please. I hope you got my two questions.
Yeah, I got the questions. So the first one, right, my career journey. So because of time, I'll just keep it brief. So my background, right, I studied chemistry in university. So that's kind of far from computer science or data science, right? So after school, I did the typical NYSC Then after NYC, right, I just knew that tech is like something that will drive the future, and I wanted to just delve into a tech role, right, learn it and just become very good at it. So I met with a friend, right, and at the time he was like exploring data science. He told me about data science, and I just went on YouTube and watched 1, 2 videos, and I was hooked. And from there, I started just learning, right, watching videos, tutorials, attending events, networking with people, right, trying to just know more about data science and build myself. And I think from then on, right, I just started building projects, right, and trying to share my knowledge with people. Because I believe like the best way to learn is to like share your knowledge, right? So take courses, build your skills, and start sharing those knowledge that you've gained, right? So I started doing that, and from that I was meeting people also and learning from them, right? And eventually I was able to like get a job, right? I think that was like 1 year after I started learning data science. I got my first job. And from then, right, it's just been the same thing I've been doing, right? Learning, sharing my knowledge, and trying to just become better. And I'm here. So that's my journey in a nutshell. And then for the second one, right, for someone that's trying to like break into data science, right? Or you're in the data science field, you're trying to just become better, right, and build yourself. So the first thing, right, the first thing is just to stay curious. It's a very dynamic field. Every week, every month, there are new updates that are coming up. And if you decide to just be indifferent, right, you just get left behind. So you stay curious and try to just improve, right, and keep learning. Just have that curious mindset. I don't know anything. That's just how I try to approach everything I'm doing. I try to just learn, and that has helped me very well. So I'll say to just stay curious. And then another thing, right, is for someone that's so one thing that I noticed with newbies, right, they are mostly stuck in the course cycle. You're taking courses, course A, course B, course C, taking course over course over course over course. So I believe that if you can just find one real problem around you, right, and try to just implement what you've learned, try to just be a solution that addresses that problem, that will teach you more than 10 courses will do. So try to just prioritize working on real projects, right, that you're passionate about and that solves real world problems. That will help you to learn a lot. So work on real world projects. And if possible, right, if you see that you have that passion to like share knowledge, right, don't hold back. You might start and it might not be really, really the best, but with time it becomes better. So you try to just share your learning. It helps you to learn. It also helps to know people, right? Like it helps to you to like put yourself out there, and people know that, oh, this guy can do this stuff. When you're opportunity, they can reach out to you for that stuff. So try to just put yourself out there, share your knowledge, no matter how simple that it might be. Oh, I learned this thing, it's very simple. No, there's someone out there that might gain from that stuff you're trying to share. So just try to share your knowledge, right? Put it out there. And no one is born with the gift to share or teach. It just starts and then it becomes better. It's just like a tap that's been left for a long time. When you open it up, right, it brings out dirty water, but with time it becomes cleaner. So you might start the first time, it might not be the best, but when you start doing it over time, right, you become better, and before you know it, you just build a strong brand. So that's a good way, right, as a newbie, to just put yourself out there and attract opportunities, whether it's jobs or gigs or referrals, right? It's very, very good to do something like that. And then networking, right, is very, very important also. So most times it's not what you know, it's who you're able to connect to. So just know that everyone, right, is looking for something, right? If you can find a way to provide value to someone and that person has something that he wants, they will give you that value back. And that's how you build networks that help you advance your career. So you try to just network with the right people. Don't just network for the sake of networking. You find someone that's goal driven, going to where you want to go, or is there already. Try to build a connection with that person. And I believe that's one of the best ways, right, to like advance yourself. So I think with these tips, right, you can apply this. Hopefully they can help you in your journey. That's all that I can say. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. You've been really, in depth even with these two. And it's a lot that you've mentioned. I was trying to think of how to summarize them, but every point you've mentioned, they are like key. There's no one paragraph that you said that is small compared to the other. But I remember I want to highlight one that will benefit us. The part that you mentioned about whatever little you share, you don't just be, I call it the forever student, someone who just keeps learning and learning. And it's a cycle. There will always be something to learn, and you just never really, as you learn and keep learning what you learned 5 cycles ago, you will forget it. So it will not end. But the value you create when you learned task A and you created a value with it, even when you keep move on to something else and 5 years after you've forgotten what you even learned that task A, but when you see the value you've created, that value is still there, that tool, that whatsoever solution. So I want to just tell people that we also a safe space. If you want to present, we are that's why I call it safe space. We are This platform is built for learners, for people who are trying to improve, refresh. We are not looking for people who are already made to come and impress us. We're actually looking amongst ourselves to improve ourselves and also to learn new things and to allow people to also teach what they've learned so they become better. So please fill our potential speaker form. And Obinna, it's been a wonderful session with you. We will be very happy to have you again. I don't know if it's okay if after a while, maybe after some weeks or months, we reach you again. But man, everything you've covered for us, they have been amazing. No one has opened our eyes to Microsoft Fabric as detailed as you've gone in just a very I think by the time you started the practical, we were already 40 something minutes into the session and see how much you've done. So thank you very much. You've got a very easy to follow way of you know making us understand technical concepts. You've got this ground top to bottom, bottom up approach where you explain what we need to know and then we'll build on it in a practical way. I have to call that out. Not so many people have it, and thank you very, very much. I know Zachariah's hand was up. So someone has given an answer. Do you want to check the chat and see if that's the answer you're expecting?
Yeah, let me see. So, tell me. Okay, so I think I see an answer from let's scroll down. Yeah, Zachariah disobeyed Delta package format. Yeah, that's very correct.
Okay, so congratulations, Zachariah. Send your email, like just email us. Let me just put it that way. Email us at, I'm typing it so you don't have to memorize what I'm saying. I'm just typing what I'm writing. So email us at webinar@yourbz.com, and we have a Power BI course and we have a Power
I think
Platform course. So I don't know which one and state whether you want. No, let me give you full option and state any course, just any one course you want from any one course you want. I'll type it in the chat so that I don't take screen share from our presenter because the summary is showing are also very important. So I am just typing it. Just go on, look through what I've typed. Go on that link, pick any particular course you want, send us an email stating the one particular one you want, and we will send you a free access coupon that will even issue you a certificate upon completion. So thank you very, very much. Yes. All right. So Obinna, I think we have come to the end. A lot of people, we had a lot of people at some point. I think some other people had other things. So that's why we always record this session. We had up to 20. At some point, it was steadily around 22 people that I was seeing. So people always know that we record it. So I think that's why most times they know that even if they leave, they can watch the recording. And the recording will be up by tomorrow. But thank you for this very amazing session. We are grateful. We appreciate the time it must have taken you to put this together. I'm sure it's taking you more than 1 hour, So thank you very much. And it's been a wonderful delivery too. Thank
Yeah,
you very, very
you're
much.
welcome. Yeah.
Yes, sir. So thank you to everyone and have a wonderful week ahead. This is where I'm going to end the webinar for today, for this week. Have a wonderful week ahead. Bye. Bye.